Hey, so, Trade the Truth and them basically reacting to the whole Takeoff situation. Zero and Trade the Truth feel like, man, they should have never did that fight outside of 50 Cent's event, because that just made a downward spiral to unleashing like the chain of events where people in Houston is going to be on edge, like ready to fight and like trying to always cause problems. And so from it started from them, it started from the Sauce Walker situation too, and him calling out people from LA and like the whole situation that happened there. And it started out with Zero and Trade the Truth as well. So like just from that, it made the people start acting a certain way. Like people were like acting out more, going even more crazy, even more savage. And so once that happened, it kind of unleashed the wave. It unleashed the floodgates that opened up to where Texas was becoming like messed up, man. People start acting crazy in Texas now. Like, for them, anybody that has something to do with the Takeoff situation, they can never be in the right, because Takeoff was the most, he was the calmest, collected, and he was acting the coolest there. He wasn't the one arguing or nothing like that. And so everybody that night was even saying, like, man, they got a lot of respect for Takeoff. Like, he's never the one that starts anything. He always trying to be a peacekeeper. Matter of fact, actually, when the Migos broke up, he was trying to tell Takeoff was trying to tell Offset and Quavo that they should leave their differences aside and that they shouldn't let that one girl, Sweetie, get in between the entire rap group, because there's no way that they should be losing the money from not being on tour no more. They could have been doing a world tour right now. And if it wasn't for Sweetie and Cardi B and Quavo and Offset just arguing and having beef and just making things even more of a problem, like, these people actually like to make issues. Like, they actually like their one of the things is that they've always had problems and issues in their life. So what they tend to do is they tend to cause problems and issues everywhere that they go, because they always will run into it. So instead of running into problems and issues where people have an issue with them, they actually go out of their way to make issues and problems with other people, just so that they could feel like, they got into some type of altercation first. Like, people just like drama, they like arguing. That's all they do all their life. They get on the phone, they argue with people, they argue with their family, they argue with their friends, they argue with strangers. And it's like, what is all this argument about? What is it for you to just go and act like that? Why can't you just be calm and cool like Takeoff? And so that's the thing, is that in the past, their people's past is basically genetically in them. So if they always used to having problems and issues all around them and that they can't get their life together, well, they're going to keep having that same pattern happen to them, whether they cause it themselves or if it's something that they're overreacting to. And so that's always something that happens, And so you got to think about it. When they got into that argument and Quavo was arguing, and even when Migos broke up, it's like they always had issues in their past. So they just, want to amp up the problems even more. They turn it into an argument. When they turn the argument into a beef, and then the beef turns into what exactly happened to Takeoff. So y'all got to take it for what it is, face value, and look at the facts and just, pay attention to how everything is going on around you. Because if you don't pay attention to what's going on around you, then things is going to start happening, and you're going to act like don't act like it's brand new. Things are still going on, behind closed doors. And, while you busy caught up with this and that, things still happen. So people still, now the OGs in Houston, like Trade the True, Zero, and them, like, they had that whole thing. They wish they could have came together, squashed that. That way it started a better energy, like more positivity to the next people. And if they would have spread that positivity to the next people, what would have happened is that maybe somebody in MobTies would have been able to be more peaceful, more positive, and not trying to cause problems, not trying to beef with Migos, not trying to hang around MobTies just so they can wait to see a rapper that goes and checks in with them just to hit a lick on them. You got to understand these people are looking for opportunities. They broke out here. There's no more loans they can take. There's no more PPPs or business loans. So they out here doing extreme dirt. And hey, if they hanging around with street dudes who just happen to be in the business of doing dirt, then dirt's going to get done when you come up clean to that party like you are the Migos. And then boom, you got a bunch of folks who's into the dirty business. And then now that don't mix. You see what I'm saying? So now from that, it's like, okay, the OGs in Houston could have been like, damn, we wish we would have spoke to bring the peace together way before. That way that maybe they would have had a bigger, better group to check in with. Maybe they wouldn't have had to check in at all. Or maybe they would have been able to move with more artists and a bigger event, something like that, to where it couldn't have been Lil Cam and MobTies trying to set something up. So what you guys got to understand is that, I mean, it was a chain of events to where Houston turned more ratchet. The OGs never spoke up. They never brought peace back together. They never spread the positivity. So when the OGs themselves got issues and fights and beefs, that just blanketed everybody else's mentality. They're thinking, if the OGs are beefing and fighting people in the streets, then I should too. So that's exactly what Lil Cam and his friends was thinking. That's exactly what all them people that hung out around Jazz Prince just to get the benefit of the clout being around, all the J Prince Jr.'s friends who just want to hang out with him to be able to get the clout, be able to get the free things here and there, all the pros and cons, the benefits they take, but really not giving too much back except for, you know, if they have to do what they're told to do. So when they point a finger and say, do this, they got to do it. So at the end of the day, y'all, it's people who they got to answer to other folks and stuff because they don't got their own thing going on. Or like they have to do it through mob ties. Now they stuck with mob ties. So they have no choice but to be loyal to them. And then when you got people like Migos come around and they got a problem with somebody you got to be loyal to, then that puts you in a bad predicament. And if they ask you to do something, then you got to do it, or else you're the one whose head is on the chopping block. So that's how these things work, man. That's how all of this stuff is, like, basically it's like the unwritten rules. The unwritten rules is what makes people like they have to do it. They feel like they ain't got no choice because it's like an unwritten rule. Like you don't have to speak on it, but everybody knows if this happens, this is the consequence. If a group is beefing with another group like Migos or something like that, or if a person from the group is beefing with Migos, then when Migos and that person come to the same room and they start arguing, just like how Quavo was arguing with Lil Cam, then that's going to turn into the issue of where it becomes now Migos versus MobTies. Because the sides have already been picked. Quavo and Takeoff already are with Migos. Lil Cam and all them, they're already with MobTies. You can't erase that now. You can't say that Lil Cam isn't part of MobTies. He is. He was at the private party where it's MobTies only invites. So you can't say he wasn't invited. He's in the pictures. He's in the videos. He's with the boss men. He's with the head honchos. You can't work around that. So it's already out there. It's already laid out there for everybody to see who they really with, who really had something to do with it and who really didn't have something to do with it. And if you look closely, you'll be able to see what really happened that night right there in front on that sidewalk. So make sure you subscribe to the channel, like this video, and stay tuned. Binge watch all of my other videos and stay tuned for the next one.